Scooby. Hi, I'm Scrappy Doo.
Scrappy Doo?
Let me at him! Let me at him! Let me at him! Let me at him!
Scooby, Scrappy Dappy Doo. Scooby,
Scrappy Dappy Doo!
Scooby, Scrappy Dappy Doo.
Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta! Puppy power!
Scrappy Doo?
Uncle Scooby? Scrappy Dappy Doo!
Scooby-Dooby-Doo?
Hello again, my meddling Scooby-Doo fans, and welcome to another review into the world of Scooby-Doo. So yesterday, I continued my reviews of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo with a review of Season 2, Episode 3A of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We talked about how the villain was weak, the motive was weak, there wasn't really any atmosphere, and there was no mystery, and this all led to the short not being that great. But of course, today, I'll be covering Season 2, Episode 3B of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, titled Hang In There, Scooby, which was released on November 22nd, 1980. The short synopsis of the second short is, to get to the beach below, the guys use a hang glider, but it's not an easy landing, as they go through a hurricane, over city skyscrapers, and through a storm cloud. So normally I would tell you guys what DVD I'm watching this particular episode of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo on. Unfortunately, Seasons 2 through 4 of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo have yet to be released on any sort of physical media or DVD. So just like in my past Season 2 reviews of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, and for future Season 2, 3, and 4 reviews of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, and for the purposes of this review, I will be watching this short online, so apologies in advance for the quality of the short. Now, as far as the short's reception is concerned, I'm not really sure how fans feel about this particular short, but considering that most in the Scooby-Doo community, like myself, consider the shorts to be awful and terrible, I suspect it's not viewed very highly. But with that being said, what's my personal opinion on the second short of Season 2, Episode 3 of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo? Do I think this is a good and underrated short? Do I think it's another terrible and bad short that continues the trend of this series and the trend of these shorts? Or is it an average, middle-of-the-road, decent short? Well, let's find out, shall we? So let's take a look at the short to see whether I think it is a good or bad short of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo. The short begins with the gang hanging out on a cliff above a beach. Wanting to get down, they decide to hang glide down as there is a rental shop nearby. Scrappy gets excited and gets on the hang glider, so Scooby and Shaggy chase him and hop on as well. Flying over the ocean, the gang run into many hazards such as an ocean whirlwind and a lightning storm before heading back to the beach. Before they can land, they first must contend with the skyscrapers of the city near the beach, followed by some airplane action and then a giant bird. The giant bird wrecks their glider, and the gang safely fall and land in a beach umbrella. And the short ends with them happy they are on land, and Scrappy heads off to the ocean to go surfing.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo?
I'm going to give Season 2, Episode 3B of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo 1 star out of 5. So yeah, no surprise here, another awful and terrible short that's just boring, and is a time waster, and it's just filled with dumb, wacky hijinks for 7 minutes. There's not really much to say with the short, but before I get into the negatives of the short, and what makes it awful and terrible in my opinion, I'll go over the one positive that I found in this particular short. So the only positive that I have for this short is Shaggy and Scooby. I thought Shaggy and Scooby fulfilled their basic roles and were their usual cowardly selves. I don't think they were funny and had any humor. That was completely absent from the short. But they were cowardly. And for good reason, because they were on a hang glider really high up in the sky, all thanks to Scrappy, no surprise there. And we're obviously afraid of heights, just like in, Season 2, Episode 3 of the Scooby-Doo show, which has the same title that I mentioned in the previous, at the end of the previous review yesterday. So they still carried over Shaggy and Scooby's fear of heights. And honestly, I can't blame them. I'm scared of heights as well, and they've established that in the shows, and I feel Shaggy and Scooby's pain because I wouldn't want to go on a hang glider either, so they are completely within their rights to be cowardly because this is scary and terrifying, and I'd be shitting bricks if I was on a hang glider like that. I would honestly, I don't know what I would do, but I would be scared to fucking death. But yeah, besides Shaggy and Scooby there's not really much to say in terms of positives. So let's get on to the negatives of the short and get into the stuff that makes the short awful, in my opinion. So starting with the negatives, my first one is that Fred, Daphne, Velma are completely absent from the short yet again. You guys know the drill. You guys know I don't like when any member of the gang is missing. I hate that, just like how I don't like additional characters and feel like it's unnecessary. I don't like when any member of the gang is missing because each member of the gang is vital in their own ways and is vital to the story, and there should be no reason why a member of the gang is absent. So I hate it, don't like it, and I'm going to continue to say that until they bring Fred, Daphne, Velma back. Then we have Scrappy. Scrappy was pretty weak in the short. Scrappy didn't really do his unusual annoying tropes, like he didn't beat up innocent people or create a dumb trap. Really, the issue with Scrappy was that he just didn't listen to Shaggy and Scooby. Like, he asked Shaggy and Scooby to go on the hang glider because they want to go down to the beach. I get the idea he's going for, but Shaggy and Scooby don't want to do it, and rightfully so, because I wouldn't want to do it either. And they probably just think there's a better way to get down there. And they could find another way down there, essentially. But instead of Scrappy listening to what Shaggy and his Uncle Scooby just told him and said no, Scrappy immediately goes for the hang glider and just goes and flies off. And Shaggy and Scooby have to hop on thanks to his dumbassery for not listening to his fucking uncle. Which is it's kind of annoying. I'm gonna admit that it's a little bit annoying that Scrappy's not listening to his uncle and Scooby's best pal. Shaggy and Scooby are the adults of the situation, and they're telling Scrappy, "We're not using this hang glider. We don't want to use it. Let's find another way down." And Scrappy still uses it, regardless, despite them saying no. So he's just terrible, and I don't care if he's a puppy. He needs to listen. He needs to learn to respect, his uncle and and Shaggy, and learn that when the adult of the situation tells you no, no means no. Like, he didn't even try to convince Shaggy and Scooby to use it. He just fucking decided that, I'm just going to use it. And you could argue he had good intentions, but even if he does have good intentions and he wants to go down to the beach, there are better ways to go about it. Shaggy and Scooby could probably find better ways to get down to that beach. And instead, Scrappy, of all things, just like he always does, mucks things up and is annoying as all hell because he doesn't listen to his fucking uncle and Shaggy. They said no, and yet he didn't listen. So, yeah, he's pretty weak for that reason. I don't like that aspect of his character. But he also isn't really noteworthy in any capacity. So I can't believe this, but this short has no villain whatsoever. None. Like, at all. There are just obstacles like the ocean whirlwind, which could be described as a hurricane, most likely. And the big bird. And I guess the skyscrapers, if you want to call them that. But they're really more so obstacles and not so much an overlying villain in the story. This is the first short where there's absolutely no villain present in the story. There is no antagonist to the story. Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy are literally just doing dumb, wacky hijinks for 7 minutes with no antagonist in sight. And I hate that. A villain is just as vital as the gang. Villains are just as good as your heroes. And villains are integral, obviously, to the Scooby Doo story. We need a villain. And this short doesn't have a fucking villain. Real or fake. It's devoid of any villain. And I hate that. I hate that there's no villain in the short, and it sucks. So yeah, for some reason, this short is the first one where they're gonna have no villain, and hopefully there's not too many of these shorts, because I don't want to have a ton of shorts where there's no villain, because that's only gonna make it harder to review, because there's not really much there's gonna be even less I'll have to say when there's not even an antagonist in the story. So yeah, no villain present whatsoever, besides a couple of obstacles like the bird and the ocean whirlwind and the city skyscrapers. Besides those obstacles, it is literally just dumb, wacky hijinks for 7 minutes. There is no antagonist in this story, no villain present whatsoever. And because there's no villain, there's also no outside of costume element. There's no, person behind the mask. There's not even a real villain in this particular instance. There's no real monster or ghost, or even a man behind or woman behind the mask. There's just no antagonist in general. So, with no villain in the short, there's also no outside of costume element in the short, which you guys know I also hate. There's also no suspects in this short because there's no mystery to the villain's identity, mainly because there isn't a villain and there isn't an antagonist in the short. There's no pool of suspects to gauge from. Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy don't gauge from any sort of suspects because there's no antagonist to the story. There's no villain. It is literally, like I said, just dumb, wacky hijinks for 7 minutes straight. And because there's no villain, there's also no motive for the story. There's no motive whatsoever. There's no antagonist trying to gain something. There's no antagonist or villain trying to achieve something. It is literally motive-free. This is the first short and episode in general where there's literally no motive at all in the short because there's no villain. There's also no mystery in the short. There's no lingering questions that I want answered about the villain or the setting. No mystery whatsoever. Like I said, dumb, wacky hijinks shenanigans for 7 minutes straight. Same old with these shorts. No sort of mystery or plot or driving force at all. It is literally just time wasters. And because there's no mystery, there's also no clues in the short either. There's no clues that Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy would find that help, narrow down the list of suspects, mainly because there are no suspects in the short, because there's no villain, and no outside of costume element. And there's no clues to help point towards a motive, because there's no motive, because there's no villain. So, yeah, there's no clues present whatsoever, which goes hand in hand with the mystery, and it's not even present at all in the short. There's also no atmosphere in this short. I felt no tension or suspense or creepiness or eeriness from either the villain or the setting, mainly because there is no villain and the setting's not any better. So I didn't fear for the gang's safety. Was on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen next. Didn't find anything creepy or eerie about the villain or the setting because, like I said, there's no villain and the setting isn't that strong. It is completely devoid of any sort of atmosphere. It is not there. Like I said, it's dumb, wacky hijinks that is just a time waster and is all kiddie fun and, has no sort of plot or nuance or story to it. And my final negative is I found the setting of the short to be generic and dull. So the main setting of the short is just a beach in a city. Nothing special. We've had beaches before plenty of times in Scooby Doo up to this point in the franchise. We've had cities up to this point in the Scooby Doo franchise. Nothing special about these settings. No sort of flavor or flair. No layers to it. Completely, uninteresting. It is literally, the most dull and generic setting that you could think of. Just a random beach in a random city. There is nothing special about it. Overall, guys, I would personally not recommend this short to fans and newcomers of the show. Like I said previously, it's an awful and boring short that's just filled with dumb, wacky hijinks and shenanigans for 7 minutes straight just to keep kids distracted. It's not fun or entertaining. It is completely boring and dull and terrible. It is not worth your time. It is a complete time waster. It is awful. And I would never watch this again. It is not worth your time. Just an absolute waste of my time. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's not great either. It's terrible. It's literally the basic version of what a short is. This is exactly what I expected a short to be. Just dumb, wacky hijinks and shenanigans for 7 minutes straight just to keep kids distracted. No nuance, no mystery, no plot, no story to drive it forward. Nothing interesting at all for a Scooby Doo episode or short in this case. And it is just basically just dumb, kiddie, fun, wacky hijinks and shenanigans for 7 minutes to keep kids distracted. But has none of the nuance and plot and story that I'm looking for in traditional Scooby Doo. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Please give a like if you did. Comment down below your thoughts on the short. Do you like the short? Do you think I'm being too harsh on it? Do you disagree with me? Do you think there are more positives that you see that I don't see? Do you hate the short? I'd be interested in that as well. Do you agree with me? Do you think this is an awful and terrible short and is like bottom of the barrel and not that great? Or maybe you think it's below average and has some positives, but it still isn't that great? Or are you somewhere in the middle where you think it's average and decent and okay, but it's neither good nor bad? I'm curious for your thoughts, so let me know. And subscribe for more Scooby Doo content like this, or if you're just interested in my other content, obviously I have more Scooby Doo reviews on the way. This is a Scooby focused channel, so we cover all things ranging from TV shows, movies, video games, and books. So if you're a diehard fan like me, or just a casual or a newcomer to the Scooby Doo franchise, and you love talking all things Scooby Doo, and basically want to join in on each individual discussion for each individual TV show episode review, movie review, video game let's play review, or book review, then come join the channel and experience some amazing Scooby Doo content. In my next video, I will be back tomorrow to continue my reviews of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo with a review of Season 2, Episode 3C of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo, titled Stuntman Scooby. I'm not really sure what to expect with the short, but considering that the shorts have been awful so far, and they're about as on par as what I expected, and I'm not really big and huge on the shorts, and they're considered awful and terrible, and I agree with that sentiment, I'm going in with low expectations, and expecting the worst, just like I always do with these shorts. But, you know, if you want to know my thoughts on Season 2, Episode 3C of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo, Stuntman Scooby, then come join me tomorrow. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, peace out.
Uncle Scooby? Hi, I'm Scrappy Doo.
Scrappy Doo.
Let me at him! Let me at him! Let me at him! Let me at him!
Scooby, Scrappy Dappy Doo. Scooby,
Scrappy Dappy Doo!
Scooby, Scrappy Dappy Doo.
Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta! Puppy power!
Scrappy Doo.